Hi guys, it's Blackie and welcome back to the channel. Okay, continuing in the Ground Pounder series, we're going to talk a little bit about surplus for a second. I've had several of you ask about how different countries' surplus may vary from what we're used to in America. So, for example, not long ago I did one where I was talking about the British canteen cook system. And they said, but will it fit onto American web belts and gears at a different size? And that's a fair question. So let me be a little bit of information here. With World War II, the world kind of learned that you needed to be able to share information and share gear and equipment quickly. And so the powers that were fighting against the German government tried their best to get a uniform way of production, a uniform way of distributing, and etc. So that, for example, an American canteen would fit into a French canteen cover, that type thing. So that you could, if they couldn't make enough canteens, you could hand them some, or packs, or bayonets, or whatever, it would be interchangeable. This, during the Cold War, came to its fruition. So from the late 40s up until really the early 2000s, through NATO, all the NATO nations, they may have had some unique things, but the bulk of the gear was interchangeable. So that if you needed first aid pouches, and your ally over here had plenty of them, he could hand them to you, and the pouches would fit with your gear, and you could issue them, say, in an emergency situation. We wanted everybody to use the same caliber rifle, same caliber handgun, same caliber sub gun, etc. A 20 millimeter round in your fighter jet was the same 20 millimeter round that went on to my combat helicopter, or etc. Everything was interchangeable. So because of that, you've got a pretty good bet that if you're seeing some sort of, for example, German, this was a German Alpine pack, you're pretty sure that the width of webbing and everything on here will conform to American gear. So you could put American gear onto it. You could put an American first aid kit on it or whatever. It would be interchangeable. It also worked with the American harness. Yeah, it might not be a perfect fit, but in a crunch, it would work. So, for example, this is the German Alpine rucksack, one of my all-time favorite rucksacks. And as I've said on camera, I prefer it over the Alice pack. I know, blasphemy. But I really do prefer it as a rucksack. My own rucksack that I have developed and built is took a lot of influence off of this. And so this is a good pack to get. Now these were made in Germany back during the Cold War, and you can get them either in Cordura or in canvas. Either one works just fine. But the reason for this video came up, A, to answer that question, and one of my followers was kind enough to send me an Australian canteen. So I'm going to get up close and we're going to look at it in a second. Okay, this is a U.S. issue canteen cover, Vietnam era. Canvas, it's got the it's got the fleece lining in it, okay? Heavy canvas, no drain hole. Snaps, 2 ears that come over, and in the back you've got connections that went on to a standard web belt at the time, okay? Now, Australia, being part of our allies, we gave a lot of old surplus gear to at the end of World War II. And so when they were coming up with their gear, they were kind of reflecting a little bit of that, right? This was sent to me as an Australian military issue canteen. Now, it is canvas. You look at the bottom and you can see that we don't have a drain hole. Later models of this would, but they have 3 drain holes. Okay. On the back, they have another wide band like we do, and you can see right here where this did have Alice clips like you see here to hook to a web belt. It just doesn't have it on this one. But it also had these other 2 elastic bands sewed in there. Now they're not elastic. They may have been originally, but they're not. But this would allow you to slip it on something like, you know, the weight belt that comes around on a rucksack. You could slide this through there real easy. If you didn't want to use those clips because it'd be up against you, you could do it. But also up here we've got the old World War II hanger system where you bent the British web belt or the American web belt in half and put these two tines, these two wire loops, through holes in the belt, and that allowed it to hang like that. So it's got 1, 2, 3 different ways to hook it up right there. Then on the front you've got this extra little patch right here that's made so you could put a Alice type connector on. I believe, although I don't know, I've never seen it, but I believe it's for something like this where you could take a compass pouch or some other small pouch and put it onto it like that, probably for water purification or something to go in there. So I'm pretty sure there's going to be some small, maybe a first aid kit or whatever that would attach to the front of it like that and make that into a quick and handy. It wouldn't add much depth to it, but at the same time, if I were carrying my water purification right here with a canteen. Now whenever we look at the actual canteen cover, as I said, here in the American version we have this fleece lining that was used to cool it, to insulate it, etc. When we look at the Australian one, we open up and see it also has a fleecy type felt liner in it that's been sewn into it. You know, same idea as the American. The American's a little fuzzier than this. Ours is more wool and this is more felt, but would do probably the same job. I don't see any major difference in that. Okay, now let's look at the canteens. This looks identical to an American canteen. It's even got an American type number on the bottom of it. They're made the same way, although this one's got the nuclear biological cap. This is the plain cap of it. Slightly lighter material, you know, and a different color green. But besides that, they're the same. Not enough difference to spit. The loop back here is a little bigger than the loop on that one, but I bet the cats would interchange with each other. So if I saw Australian canteens for a good price, would they fit in the American cover? Yes. This is my American set right there with canteen cup in there, and it fits just fine right there, right into the cup. Would the American canteen and cup cover fit into the Australian cover? Yes, no problem. And if you'll notice, they were a camouflage pattern. This one being well loved and spent a lot of time in the field, but they did have that blotchy black, brown, green OD camouflage pattern that you saw in a lot of the 1960s hunting clothes and things like that. So a lot of times this foreign gear for these countries may have been made in America, because as part of our foreign aid or NATO aid or whatever, they say, look, we like your canteen. We say, okay, hey, we'll produce the canteens for you. And so if it wasn't exactly an American, you know, issue, but maybe they wanted the 3 holes, slightly different design or whatever, we'd have them made here. Or they were made in country over there. Some of the countries in, you know, these alliances weren't wealthy countries. And so we say, okay, we'll give you this and this, and we'll give you so many duffel bags, so many sets of shoes, boots, whatever, you know. And a lot of the American gear was recycled afterwards. And so like you see this hook to the World War II gear, there was a lot of the American World War II gear that gave away at the end of the war to countries like Italy and a lot of the South American countries and Australia, New Zealand, and stuff like that, where we were transitioning into something else. We were going to, say, nylon. And so all of our old canvas stuff became surplus, and we passed it out to other allies in the world. At the same time, they were utilizing our old canvas stuff so they would kind of follow along when they needed a new canteen carrier or they needed a new rucksack or whatever. So when you're looking at those surplus sales and stuff like that, look at the capacity, look at the rough size if it gets it, and you're pretty sure, pretty safe bet that if it says it's one of the countries that was a NATO country or an ally country of the United States anywhere in the last, say, 50, 60 years, that the gear is going to interchange with American gear pretty well. Now, yeah, there may be a light hiccup in there, I'm not going to lie to you. But I have found pretty much in my neck of the woods, that's the way it's worked. So when I got that rucksack back there, it worked just fine with my LBE American kit, where I had my belt with my ammo pouches, butt pack, that fit right on top of it like an Alice would go. But it just rode better for me. At the same time, if I picked up Italian canteen or French canteen cover, it may be slightly different dimensions, but it will attach to my gear, see. And so that's an advantage for us. It doesn't have to be a certain set, you know, like you said, Ford, Chevy, or whatever. It has to be a such and such for a certain model Ford to go in that Ford. We're talking about web gear. Soldiers are soldiers. They're roughly the same make and build, so to speak. So if it would fit on an American, it's probably going to fit, you know, on an Australian, New Zealand, French, German, Dutch, whatever. They had some innovations in some of their gear that maybe they didn't have the manufacturing ability that we have, but they did make really good gear, very durable gear. And so be willing to look at it, especially if it's at a good price and will fit your needs. Hope this has opened your eyes a little bit, guys, to it. Don't be afraid of looking at the foreign surplus. A lot of it's really good gear. If you got any questions, please put them down there in the comments, and I'll be glad to answer them the best I can. Till next time, guys, I'm Blackie wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.